Why do you sleep so sound? That revenue officers are coming in for to tear your schoolhouse down. Wake up, darling Corey. Why do you sleep so sound? That revenue officers are coming for to tear your schoolhouse down. The first time I seen Dottie, she was standing by the sea, had a 45 strapped across her bosom, and a banjo on her knee. Wake up, darling Corey. Why do you sleep so sound? That revenue officers are coming in for to tear your schoolhouse down. Go away, darling. You're hanging round my heart like you're gonna ruin my body. Well, I'm gone to wake up. You get no refuge, no respite, no sanctuary here. No refuge, no respite, and no sanctuary here.
All the seats.
Now you got your have and you have nots, and no more in between. Religion that preach about loving your brother, but they run by the bowling green. Now there's a lot of folks that looking over the edge of that weight we ride so high. When they're on the side to come before, time to kiss it all goodbye. There'll be no refuge, no respite, and no sanctuary. No refuge, and no respite, and no sanctuary. No refuge, no respite, and no sanctuary. No refuge, no respite, and no sanctuary. No sanctuary. No sanctuary. God came to know. See, he said, no other water gonna get filled. Build yourself and I can get down. Build down to the wall. That man can't win a God moves on the water. God moves on the water. God moves on the water. The people that are running pray. Titanic was the ship of great renown. Some people said that ship would never go down. Didn't see the iceberg beneath the waves, and so many souls that were not saved. God moved on the water. God moved on the water. God moved on the water, and the people that are running. Flooding down in your tidal waves. A man trying to stay in his own damn grave. Mess with genetics, you play with where they be messing with a man who put it all together. God moves, God moves on the water. God moves on the water, and the people that are running. It moves. Now water makes up more than 50%. The body you're abusing, so you best repent. Put your soul in the Savior's hand, and gonna put you down on solid ground. Water moves, water got moves on the water, and I got moves on the water, and the people that are running. Hey, they got moves, water, it moves on the water, and I got moves. Water and the people that are running. He moves on the water, and the people that are running. He moves on the water, and God moves on the water. The people that are running. I have the same again. I ain't leaving here till I'm all the way around the bend. Ever since you gone, this single malt be my only friend. Now set 'em up, Joe. I have the same again. Now she did not leave a note, and she did not call. What you did leave me here with my back against the wall. Now everything looks better through this fog of alcohol. I can see the bottom of this glass, man, and that's all. She says that I'm on Joe. I have the same again. I ain't leaving here until I'm all the way around the bend. Ever since you're gone, this single malt seems to be my whole net friend. Now set 'em up, Joe. I have the same again. Can't run from trouble, that's what they say. And ain't no use in trying to hide in the filth of that old alley. I get up every morning, get down on my knees and pray for any old thing to take this pain a step or two away. Well, say to me, Chris, you don't need to slow down, smoke a bar. Get on with the healing.
Toot toot. Hello. Good morning, everybody. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. Kindly grab a seat. There's coffee and breakfast is at the back, so please help yourselves. So there, 2 or 3 minutes, and we're going to start the proceedings. So make yourselves comfortable. Thank you.
People, don't you know, especially if you're not quite sure that sucker's gonna blow. But whichever way it goes, oh boy, it's a hard road to hoe. People, isn't that so? Said Cinnamon Joe, I have the same again. I ain't leaving here until I'm all the way around the bend. Ever since you're gone, this single malt seems to be my only friend. Now Cinnamon Joe, I have the same again. Cinnamon Joe, I will have the same again. Cinnamon Joe. I will have the same, yeah, same again. There's a sleepy little town down in Mexico. They brew their own tequila, man, it's a good to go. Rock a few bottle in a buffalo. After 2 or 3 shots, you're gonna raise the roof of her jelly and make it twist and shout. Get some good jelly in your belly, you know what I'm talking about. It don't sell over the counter or in any other bars. Well, the folks down there sell it out of the back of their cars. Comes in sizes small, medium, and large. Bleed and know the red or no extra charge. They hook jelly, make you twist and shout. Get some hook jelly in your belly, you know what I'm talking about. When jelly make you grunt, jelly make you squeal, jelly take the paint right off your automobile. Now listen up, people, I can guarantee a little of jelly gonna set you free. rock. Jelly make you roll. Jelly make a mess of your motor control. Jelly make you sweat, get weak at the knees. Jelly give you multiple personality. When it comes to clearing sinuses, jealous spell. Let it dribble down your chin and grow some hair on your chest. Have a jelly party, invite everyone. Just speed dial to 911. I love jelly. Turn your liver inside out. Get some hoof jelly in your belly, you know what I'm talking about. Get some hoof jelly in your belly, you know what I'm talking about. Get some hoof jelly in your belly, you know what I'm talking about. Hoof jelly, y'all. In the name of our killing infidel. Say you're gonna heaven, but I know you're gonna hell. It's gone too far for talking, I can't hear you anymore. Don't try to justify this thing you call it holy war, 'cause I don't need your religion. Tell Osama I'm doing just a fine. Don't need your religion. And I'm more than you need mine. It's singing, it's singing for my singing about a revelation knocking down a chord. It's no good contraception that a woman can afford. When a priest will listen, all the boy will sit a lot of court, and I don't need your religion. Tell the Pope he's got to stop his crying. I don't need your religion. And I'm more than you need mine. Sell a stack of bonds and turn it into gold. I don't gonna save your immortal soul. It's a different religion, different white collar, kneeling at the altar of a $100, and I don't need your religion. I ain't following no dollar signs. I don't need your religion. Nobody, you need mine. I don't need your religion. Tell the Pope he got to stop his crying. I don't need your religion. And I'm more than you need mine. Don't need your religion. Tell Osama I'm doing just fine. I don't need your religion. And I'm more than you need mine. I don't need your religion. I don't need your religion. don't need your religion. I don't need your religion. I don't need your religion. I don't need your religion.
Okay. Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Okay. Hello again. Good morning. We're going to start because we're running late. So people back, take your time with your coffee and breakfast and grab a seat. But we need to get things going. Otherwise, we'll run out of time. So good morning. Welcome everybody to the first of Estela's Super Yacht Breakfast Seminars, 2023 edition. So we're here today, tomorrow, and Saturday with different themes each day. So as a point of housekeeping, if I could ask you just to put your phones on silent, that'd be appreciated. Fire exits, it's basically that way. I think that's all we need to know. So this morning, we're going to be talking about crew, everything related to crew. But before that, we have a little introduction from a guest speaker. So first things first, I need to just thank our sponsors who make all these events possible. So you can see them on the board behind me, so in no particular order. Our sponsors this year are Shadowcat, who are the designers of bespoke sport yachts such as Hodor, Wayfinder, and Nebula. Termo Petroli, they are throughout the Mediterranean, and in Port Aliana, we manage the fuel dock there. So they can sort you out with fuel and lube wherever you are. Coral Marine are our partner agents in Ibiza. AYSS, which is the Global Super Yacht Supplier Association, of which Estela is a proud member. Marine Shore Assistance, which is also a super yacht agency in the Adriatic that cover you from Montenegro to Venice. Costa Brava Pirineo de Girona and Costa Brava Yacht Ports. Buffetta Diaz Associates from Maritime Lawyers in Cadiz. Clifton Ship Agency in Gibraltar, which is a new part of Estela. So we're now fully open in Gibraltar. So whatever you need, whether that's fuel, whether that's local assistance, agency assistance, we are there. Lanzarote Super Yacht Destination. Consortio Porto di Alghero in Sardinia. Mehmeti, our agency partner in Turkey. They are in Fethiye and Mugla, if you're heading that way. Antigua Yacht Club Marina and Resort. Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority. Computer Network Defense, who are the super yacht cybersecurity specialists. Express Bunker, also supply fuel and lube to brokers so they can help you wherever you are. The Gibraltar Yacht Registry. Castor Marine, maritime IT communication service provider. Alcadesa Marina, who are right next to Gibraltar. And last but not least, Fraser Yachts. So thank you all for supporting these events. And let's get into it. So I'm going to first introduce our guest speaker for this morning for our showcase presentation. Carlos Miquel is a Chilean with German ancestry who's been living in Florida for the past 25 years. He's a naval architect and marine biologist with a German master's degree in civil engineering in hydraulics. He's worked in the hospitality, wine, and tourism industries for some 30 years, has been involved in the South American super yacht industry since 2014. He co-founded Patagonia Antarctica Yacht Charters in 2018 and Cuba Luxury Expeditions in 2020. And since 2021, he's been involved in developing the small luxury cruise ships market in Chile, Peru, Argentina, Ecuador, Cuba, and Uruguay, where incidentally, Estela has 2 offices in Uruguay. Somehow, he still finds time for boating with his family, refereeing soccer matches, coaching and playing tennis, sailing competitively in the star class. That doesn't end this. Currently holding a world ranking, no less. Carlos's fun fact is that he spent the Chilean earthquake of 1985, 8-megawatt earthquake, and the resulting tsunami on board a yacht just 30 kilometers from the epicenter. Carlos has been a council member of AYSS since 2018, stepping up as chairman in 2021. Carlos, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first presentation, and it's going to be a quick one because there's a lot to be covered today. So let me get into this right away. Technology works. So I don't know how many of you here in the room are familiar with AYSS, but AYSS is the Association of Yacht Support Services. We were founded in 1991, and since 1999 we are AYSS. As such, we're a worldwide nonprofit organization of agents. So the members are agents, and to become a member of the association, your core business has to be the super yacht industry. So we specialize in being agents for super yachts. And the other thing that we really stress a lot is the local knowledge, because there's a lot of agents around the world that have offices in different countries, and they then service certain countries, but they don't necessarily have the local knowledge. So to become a member, you have to have your office in the country where you are an agent. You gotta go the other way. There we go. Oops. Sorry about that. Our slogan, if we have the crew captains here, the flags, I don't know if anyone can read them. I'll tell you at the end what it means. If anybody can guess it now, feel free to tell me later on. So this is where we are present. We're present in 67 in 46 countries, 72 members, and we're in all continents, and even through Chile, we can help yachts that go to Antarctica. We're looking to grow. There's still more red that we need to put on this map, but we have pretty good coverage so far. These are all the countries that we're in, a list. And then the type of membership, just for you to know, and is that the full members are just super yacht agents. We have also associate members, which is, for example, the shipbuilders. And for them, it's interesting to work with us because many times they have to send spare parts to their vessels, and they don't know who to send them through. So if they have someone reliable that they can work with on a constant basis, that's where we come in. Also for charter brokers, we can help you set up itineraries and bring in the local expertise again, marinas and so on. Then we have corporate members that are the bigger companies like airlines, hotels, and so on that we then can help, give um, um, the captains, the crews. We can help them with that. And then there's the prospective members. Those are uh, agents that don't yet qualify to be a full member on their way to becoming a full-time member. We also partner with four different associations. You might be familiar with them. US Super Yacht. We support Yacht 8 Global, EYA, and we also work with A Crew. So why should you work as a captain, as crew with, or even, as charter brokers or in the industry with AYS as agents, so that this doesn't happen to you? This is actually quite a funny story. It's a ship in Patagonia in one of the fjords. The captain, he picked up sugar um, um, shipment in Brazil, found a buyer in Uruguay, and then he went around the Cape and said, okay, I'm going to sink the ship somewhere in the Patagonian channels. So when the insurance tries to see what happened, the sugar will, of course, have dissolved. He unfortunately did not manage to sink the ship, and it's sitting on rocks there since 1963. So that his plan went a little bit bad, and he ended up in jail. But that's a little side story. This is a picture of Mabatu in Antarctica. Sean, I think you were there. And so we are a global community of like-minded agents. So we are really have very high standards, and you have to be vetted to become an AYSS agent. Um, Again, the local knowledge is very important, ethics, integrity, courtesy, and most of all, transparency. And one of the things that we like to stress is that we have a AYSS ethics and conduct committee. Because if you're a captain and you end up working with an agent and you have a problem, who do you go to? So here you have someone that you can go to if you have a complaint, something that didn't go well. And so the committee will take a look at it and will take the disciplinary measures that might even mean to expel the member. So that gives you an added level of comfort to work with an AYSS agent. I'm not going to go into detail, but there's a whole process to file a complaint, and I think that's what separates us also from other associations, agent associations. So working together, we don't work only alone with captains. We work also with charter brokers and with yacht management companies because there's a ton of information that flows from one to another. So we work very closely with charter brokers, putting together itineraries, helping them with understanding local regulations. Can you do this? Can you even charter? Can you not? What are the charter fees in more remote locations? So we usually call this a triangle where the guests are always in the middle, whether it's the owner and his guests or whether it is charter brokers. So and this became very clear with COVID, I think, where nobody knew what was the regulation in this country, that country. So it really helped to work together as a team. Here's from Diane Fraser, who's a big. I think there are some. Okay, so you're familiar with Diane. And she very kindly.
I do agree that more and more today, brokers such as myself rely heavily on agents to provide us not only with local information, but with the ever-changing laws that seem to come down in this new world order of ours. It's almost like we need to organize a destination retreat of sorts where agents and brokers and captains can come together to get to know one another and learn. Especially when charter is based on rental time, clients want more and more. Captains just can't do it. Their job is safe passage planning and not concierge. Seeing charter yachts is important, but learning from agents and using their services is important.
That's not Diane's voice, by the way. It's my daughter's voice. I didn't want to speak there. So how do you become an agent? First of all, you have to be in business for at least 2 years. You have to be vetted, endorsed by 3 fellow AYSS members, 3 super yacht captains, 3 industry members, super yacht industry members, of course. And then the whole application needs to be approved by the council. And then all of this is reviewed every 5 years. So pretty strict vetting process, and not everyone makes it. This is our website. Feel free to go to it. Feel free to also follow us on social media. We try to be at a lot of the boat shows. If you're looking for an agent, you go to the website. On the right hand side, you have the world map. You also have a list. It takes you then to each of the members' website, and then you can contact them if you need anything for, especially for the more remote areas in the world. What are we working on? We're working on growing the network. We're looking to add more associate members. And as I mentioned, participate in more events so that we can do more networking. And one of the things that we're working on, and that's more related to the captains, is to have a global database so that if you're a captain and you want to work with someone in Sri Lanka and then in Chile, then in Cuba, and if you like to work with a contract because, or at least an agreement, something in writing, then you have something that you're familiar with. We're not talking about a MIBA contract, but we're talking of a contract that then can be adapted to every country because every country has different legislations, but at least you're familiar with what you're getting into yourself into. So that's something that we're working on. So the message, yachts and captains, work with us. For charter companies and brokers, rely on us. And for any industry professionals, look into joining us. There's contact information here. And I left some business cards on the table so you can have the information there. Here's also my information, and I'll be around. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. And with that, muchas gracias.
Thanks, Carlos. And don't forget, if you're heading down to Patagonia, Cuba, Carlos is your man. Right. Okay. If I could ask all the panelists for this morning to kindly join me up here. and we'll get into the meat of it today. In any order you prefer. I don't mind. Do we have microphones? Do we have more microphones? Just the one. Okay, we're gonna pass this around, but it's not such a huge space, so we'll speak up a bit. Right. Like, Erica. I'm gonna put you're in the middle. I'm gonna pass this to you. If you don't mind. You're the you're the mic monitor today. Okay. Right. So thanks again for coming today. What's happening? Okay. Right. I'll try to sit very.
Just here to help.
Okay. Right. Okay. Keep still. Right. So today's topic we're talking about on the panel is crew matters, but also crew matters because they do. And on the panel today, let me introduce here, sitting next to me, Captain Brendan O'Shaughnessy. Brendan grew up in Fremantle in Western Australia, gained his degree and officer certification with the Royal Australian Navy. In 2001, he joined his first super yacht as a deckhand, working his way up through the ranks to take his first command in 2006. His CV includes iconic yachts such as Octopus, Vava 2, Amadea, and Ulysses. Ocean racing experience includes several Sydney Hobart and Fastnet race events, among others. Brendan is a board member of the International Super Yacht Society and is chairman of its captain's committee. He also helped to establish Yacht Crew Help, a charity working to support the mental health of yacht crew. He's a licensed marine pilot, an ASM auditor, and conducted postgraduate studies in maritime law and accountancy. So you could say that Brendan basically has written the book on the Sea of Life, which he has, because this very fine book I can recommend is Super Yacht Captain, Life and Leadership in the World's Most Incredible Industry. I'll get to sign this later. Well, there you go. We aim to please. So that's Brendan. Thank you for doing this. Next to Brendan, we have Jenny Colton. Born in Sweden, Jenny grew up riding and competing on horses that took her to both Germany and Ireland. After completing a business and administration degree at university in Sweden, she got a job in accountancy in Mallorca before discovering the yacht industry, which evidently was much more attractive. She's worked in yachting for almost 20 years, starting out as a junior steward, working her way up to chief steward before joining the crew network in Palma as a crewing consultant last year. In the center, we have Erica Lay. If you're local, you'll probably know Erica, either in person or online. Erica's worked in international yacht crew recruitment since 2007, launching her own successful agency, El Cruco, 10 years ago, with a network of clients that spans far beyond the Palma yachting scene. Qualified in various aspects of psychology, counseling, and coaching, Erica is also a regular writer for a variety of yachting publications and a forthright commentator on all aspects of crewing on yachts. She's also a prolific social media user, known as the Honest Crew Agent, and is the creator of some of the funniest memes doing the rounds in the yacht forums today. We have Corrine Powell from Fraser. She started her maritime crew career 20 years ago as a cruise ship crew manager for V-Ships. She later set up the Antibes office of Bachmann Marine Group, offering marine employment and payroll solutions, as well as crew placement for yachting, merchant navy, and offshore industries. She is now the crew coordinator or supervisor for Fraser Yacht in Monaco. And last but no means least, Sophie Allerton. Sophie took to sea after completing her degree in Latin and ancient Greek, for reasons best known to herself. Having spent 4 years on the yacht, she went shoreside in 2007 and has been with Blue Water ever since. First, she started up their crew placement department here in Palma, and she was then in the training department for over a decade before moving into yacht management. So that's the panel for this morning. Thank you all for joining us. Crew, it's a very big territory to cover. I think I might ask Erica, as you're holding the mic, to have to get it started. Obviously, crew, let's start with the basics. I think your particular specialism on the recruitment side. So, state of recruitment and crewing currently, if you wouldn't mind.
How? In what?
In terms of the dynamics, what are you seeing in crewing currently? Do we have enough crew, enough of the right crew?
No.
What What are the issues?
So no.
So okay, and so we don't have enough crew.
At the moment, we are experienced. I personally think we're experiencing a big shortage in experienced crew. And also, thanks to the pandemic over the last few years, we haven't had the influx of fresh blood that we usually have. The green crew have not made it into the industry. So we've got gaps, big gaps. And then during the pandemic, we actually lost a lot of crew, not to COVID, but because many people actually chose to leave the industry and move ashore, which partly was their own decision, but also a lot of crew were pushed out of the industry and told, well, no, we're laying off all crew, off your pop, and found their own job, retrained at home. And then after a year, 2 years of the pandemic, many of them just said, you know, it's not worth us returning. So we do have a huge amount of gaps, and we've lost a lot of talent. And that's not just down to the pandemic, also, as everybody will probably say, the salaries have not shifted in years. You know, the salaries in yachting have been stagnant for well over 10 years. And it's a huge problem. And in addition to that, we've also got a lot of owners and perhaps captains of management who aren't perhaps recognizing quite how wonderful their crew are. Perhaps do with a little encouragement in training schemes, in keeping them, you know, how to keep your crew. Just like in any other industry, if you look at any shore-based industry, you do a management training scheme, you're constantly mentored. You've always got someone to talk to. How's it going? How's it going? What have you learned? You go and work in different departments. You learn the ins and outs of the entire industry. And that's something else that I think we're lacking. So I think as an industry, we need to perhaps look at our brothers and sisters ashore in similar types of industries and see what we can do to improve our crew retention.
No, that's a good start. So, if I understand correctly, you're crew coordinator with Fraser, which presumably means you deal with a lot of crew who are in situ in the fleet. How do you see things from your side? A, from Monaco, is that your experience? B, how do you deal with keeping crew and bringing crew in and making sure that you're supplying crew, the right crew to the right yachts at the right time?
The pandemic has changed a lot of the market. We have new owners coming into the industry who could not sail with cruise ship, like little luxurious cruise ships. So they've decided to buy their own yachts. So we have to educate those new owners now, explain to them that this is, you know, the yacht, you have to properly pay your crew members and make them stay on board. Retention rate is very important. So we are trying to explain to them that, yes, you need to pay a little bit higher salary that what is in his mind. Try to offer rotation, try to offer perks like training refunds and a bonus if you stay on board, etc. So we are teaching a lot to the owners at the moment to try and keep the good crew members. I'm not saying there are bad crew members out there, but it's they're getting rare. And like you said, we are a shortage of crew members. That's totally obvious. So the good ones, they money and more perks to join a vessel, and we need to keep those people. Once they are on board, they become a value to the vessel. So we need to make sure that they will stay on board. And it's a constant discussion between us as managers with the owner, because at the end of the day, it's his boat and his money. But we have to make him understand that he has to keep his crew for the benefit of the vessel, for the continuity of the service. If the vessel is a charter vessel, okay, there's new guests on board every week, but it's good that the same person is on board for several seasons, so they understand how to get organized and how to optimize the vessel as much as possible. We have also owners who are switching size of vessels and they're getting bigger vessels, which means bigger crew, and they tend to take their team with them and then go from a smaller vessel to a bigger vessel, and then we need to man the smaller vessel again. But it's been we've seen a big change since the pandemic. It has switched a lot of mentalities, and for some reason, our industry was not affected by the pandemic. Okay, the vessels had to stay, could not sail for a while, but at Fraser, we've seen a growing of the market, and the sales have been booming. and we sort of did not expect that. It was a surprise, good surprise. And I think it's also because they could not rent out their vessels, they could not go on cruise liners, so they switched to become owners of yachts. So yeah, the challenge is there is to find the right crew members and to make them stay on board. So in this case, we have to talk to the owner and then make package like medical coverage for themselves, also for their families. Retention is a big question about rotation. Sorry, try to make all the positions on rotation. That's important for the well-being of the crew member and his family, her family,
All their family.
or their family.
Yeah, all inclusive now.
Yeah. So that's where we are teaching the owners how to make their boats desirable for crew members to work there and stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sophie, if I can come to you at the end, you're responsible for, or you look after training courses, etc. So obviously you're looking at the green crew, shall we say, newly qualified crew. What are you seeing in terms of people taking up the demand for courses, and how, and obviously because Blue Water, because it also does recruitment. So what impact is it having on the recruitment supply?
Well, there was a lot of people couldn't train during the pandemic. They couldn't go and do their studies. And when we did reopen, we were very limited on places in the classes. We had a massive backlog of people that couldn't train. And it kind of slowed down in their career, and it slowed down them getting their officer watch and then engineering license. So we're just about catching up now, I would say, but people really held back in their career progression on that side of things. As far as the crew retention goes, I've been seeing, I think, I don't know, I don't work in crew that often, but there's actually the senior crew are changing less. I think they're worried about their jobs where they may have jumped around more pre-pandemic. People were scared to go out there and give up a secure job.
Could also be that they have a good owner, which they discovered during that time.
Absolutely. Or they've got rotation. And I see the lesson with the senior crew, which actually means there's nowhere to go for the crew coming up on that vessel. So that might be another reason why those crew lower down the ranks are changing as well, because perhaps the career path on their boat that they may have been pre the pandemic.
Okay. If I could maybe come to Jenny. So we're talking about new crew. We've got about 1,000 yachts, 24 meters plus in build currently, all about to hit the water. So every 2 weeks there's another new one hitting the water, and these guys all need crew. So, but at the same time, we have our own recruitment forum on Facebook. If you're not in there already, it's just called Yacht Crew Recruitment. We repost a lot of jobs in there too. So we get a chance to keep it. I'm blipping it out. Okay, I keep stuff. So, what are you finding with regards to green crew and green crew looking to get on board, managing to get on board, and how are you educating yachts and the captains to say, well, it's really worth training green crew because that's saying you can't get hold of experienced crew now.
Well, we talk about two captains, trying to educate them on this matter, because in the day, you hire somebody for the character, the persona, because all yachts are different, all captains are different, all owners are different. And if you find a person with a nice attitude, a nice character, a lovely person, but she perhaps has not worked on a boat before, well, that's the easiest part, isn't it? To train somebody with tickets and licenses and get into the job. We're not dealing with rocket science here. It's much harder to find the right they're trying to give people like a chance because to meet people face to face, it's a lot harder, to try and place a green crew member on the boat that's not here, so they can't meet face to face. But if their boats are here and a green crew member are here and they can meet face to face and have a meeting together, it works. We need to get them into the industry, and they're trying really hard. And you see these day workers walking up and down the quay, they're never giving up. They're worth giving a shot. They really are. We need them. They're our future. They're green crew, aren't they?
There's something about education required. Brilliant. You're obviously an extremely experienced captain. I know you're passionate about training and bringing crew on. How do we educate captains, senior officers to work with green crew and encourage to bring them in?
No, thank you. I might tail up a couple of the comments made in the group already to that point. Oh, sorry, quick segue. Thank you very much to the sponsors. Without such sponsors, these wouldn't happen. I think, Sophie, what you said about crew upper stability causes lower turmoil. I think that's quite correct. That there was a post. I'm not obfuscating. I don't know which agent wrote it. Posted a job for a captain. Said, "Thank you very much. I had 250 applicants in 24 hours. Thank you very much." So I think that's a pretty small. I think the panel here have better sample groups than I do. But that shows that there is a stagnation in the senior ranks, which has caused turmoil in the junior ranks. For what Kareem said about recruiting green crew, I actually don't quite like the term, but I'll read it. Yes, recruit on values and teach skills. That's easy. That's kind of how you need to do it. I think, and my sample group is the smallest. I'm the real lightweight in this group. I've got a sample group of 51 crew right now, so not the hundreds or the thousands on the books of this room. But is giving true sort of psychological safety on board the crew. And I'm not going into mental health. I'm just saying people are nervous with their contracts, that the contracts are going to be terminated, possibly on leave, possibly with their all at-will contracts. So there is a sense of insecurity there across the layers. I think that structurally is something that we need to look at. And if I have a look in this room, who I recognise quite a few, I can just do a very quick straw poll. How many in the room were former crew? Just a raise. And how many in the room are current crew? So we need to kind of flip those numbers around. I don't know how this could be achieved easily, and I might defer to the group. How we could get a seashore structure going, where people, let's go with a young engineer who comes ashore and works ashore for a year on his or her career path or their career path through, so they don't come to this nervousness cliff as a chief engineer or captain going, I can't leave because I have never done anything else. So that would be a real growth point. And I know the structural reasons are quite difficult for that. But if you're giving the deckhand who then runs the delivery van for an AYSS member for a season, then goes back to sea, then comes back, that stagnation in the senior ranks may not occur so much. And people may see their pathways that it's not stay at sea as long as I possibly can and then fall off a cliff. So I'll put that out there as a bit of a challenge, I think, as a way to give that. If you've got 8 deck crew or interior similar numbers, 1 captain, 1 chief stewardess, the numbers don't work. You can train a lot more crew than you can build yachts. So that just doesn't work. So we need to give these senior, and longevity in itself isn't a great metric, because a really dud person is going to stay in a job for a long time because they're not going to get another job. So they need to keep adding value. So we need to long-term development pathways. If you're a dud leader 10 years ago and you've done nothing, you're going to be a dud leader today. But you're going to stay in the same job because you're not going to get another one. So, and that turns the turmoil of the 20-year-old who's going to be great, got nowhere to go. So I think I've gone on enough there, but
yeah, Erica, back to you. So obviously, pay is an issue. Career pathway is an issue. Training, is there a bottleneck? Is there enough training available in enough places? That's something else. But obviously, as an agent, I presume that higher wages are good for your business. It's necessary, it seems. But I've not been in the industry all that long, but all I hear is, well, the entry level for career was always 2,000 a month 20 years ago, and it's still 2,000 a month. how do you go about moving that mindset in terms of budget, in terms of with the hiring officers, with the owners? How do you educate them that ultimately what you need? Also, with the tax dynamic, that's changed too in the last 20 years. Things are no longer tax free, no matter who you are, where you're based. So, how do you go about getting that, moving the dial on salaries, on pay and conditions?
It comes down to supply and demand. I mean, look at engineers. You look at engineers in the industry. They were the first to walk forward and say, right, we want rotation. And the yachts said, well, you can't have it. They went, all right, there's another one who could. And then, now pretty much all big yachts have to offer rotation. If there's one person or one job on the boat that has rotation, it's the engineer. Not the captain, it's the engineer. Because we don't have enough engineers, we don't have enough bums to fill the seats. And now, as the ladies were saying, rotation is far more attractive to boats because they know that if they don't offer it, someone else will, and they're going to lose a great crew member. We've got boats in management companies like Edmiston who are now offering, like down the ranks, a full rotation on a boat, even down to the juniors who, okay, they're not time rotation. You learn when you have experience when you're senior. But if you're a junior crew member, they're even on 3-1, 4-1 or 5-1. They get 2 months holiday a year, which previously was unheard of. It's like you were lucky to get 4 weeks leave. And now they're calling it rotation because you're getting some time off and getting adequate time to actually have a life, which, is something that has never been afforded to yacht crew. Anyone who's worked on a boat will say that when you work on a yacht, you're married to the yacht. Everybody refers to the other crew on board as their family because you see far more of those people than you see of anyone else. But now the whole workforce has changed. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that. People have realised with the advent of working from home, sadly not possible for yachties, but people have realised that work-life balance is now not just a nice thing to have; it's essential for our mental health, for our well-being, and so now people are realising, well, give our crew a little more time off, a bit better, they'll keep coming back for more, and we'll make the job working in the industry can be really short-lived. For many people, they'll come in, do a season, and then they're gone because they're like, yeah, that was fun. It's a bit like being a holiday rep or working as a dive instructor or a ski instructor. It's like, we'll do it for a couple of seasons, but woo, work hard, play hard, come home, spent all my money, but had a great time, made some friends, saw some good places, which is great. But it's how do we make this a long-term career? And that comes back to what Brendan was saying about, there's no sort of training pathways in place because every yacht is all these privately owned yachts. It's not a fleet like cruise ships where you can say, right, come and work for P&O, cruises, and this is your career path set out for you, whether it's tech, engineering, interior, or in the galley. And what we could do with is kind of like an organisation that has a career pathway set out for you that offers perhaps mentors, people you can go back to and say, well, I'm working on this boat. It's really hard. Why? And have a discussion about it. Where do you see your career going? We don't really have careers advisors in yachting because every boat is different. If you're working on deck on a 30-meter sail yacht, that's an entirely different ballgame to being a deckhand on a 70-meter motor yacht. You could be a chamois technician on one, be a proper sailor on the other, and not to say one is better than the other, but it's a totally different, totally different monster, totally different beast.
Yeah, I think that the issue is, we talk about the industry, but there really is no yachting industry. What we have is a bunch of very wealthy people who have their playthings. It's a hobby, not essential, and there's nothing really that binds the owners together as yacht owners. Aside from that, they're like more alongside in the various ports and exotic places around the world. But in terms of crew, of course, and employment, everybody's basically freelance. Everybody's in various situations. So, I mean, you work in a tax haven. What role does that? What role does? Well, you work in Monaco. It's a tax haven.
Work in Monaco,
yeah. I'm not accusing you of anything. I think you work there. You're not responsible for Monaco's tax regime. But what do you see with regards to the tax situation? Because we talk about employment, contracts, it's always precarious because the attraction used to be, go yachting and you're not really anywhere and the tax man doesn't bother you, and that's gone now. How do you counter the pay and employment conditions in the boats that you manage? Do you have employment contracts for your crew and they go on certain yachts, or are they all managed individually still as though they are completely independent? How does that work?
Each vessel is managed independently from the other because each owner is different. Each vessel has different operations, whether it's a strictly private vessel or a easy charter vessel. We are all crew members obviously have employment contracts thanks to the MLC, but it's pretty new to the industry, this MLC. Now we must have employment contracts and pay slips, so that's a change, and it's only what 10 years old. We are again about educating the owners. There's a lot of new vessels that are paying social contributions for the crew members. So that's also a new perk. Before, I mean, we still have a lot of flag of convenience called, Cayman Island being the main flag for all the yachts, where you don't have to pay social contributions. It's up to the crew member to deal with that on his own on the private side. But we are expanding the fleet of Malta flag. And with Malta, if you have a European passport, the owner must pay social contributions for his crew member. And that is a perk because the crew member knows he has social contributions paid somewhere, and then he has a European card and can go to the hospital and get treatment for free in a European country. So that is also a new development in the type of contract.
That's quite a big decision, isn't it, for an owner to go for Malta flags for the benefit of the crew? Is that something you find you have to promote to owners in order to attract and keep crew, or is that something that market forces are somehow driving?
It's a package. It's also depending on the VAT status of the vessel, if she's going to go commercial or not, and if the owner would like to consider a Malta flag, then we say it's going to be great for the crew, and that's the turning point. Usually, we say, okay, let's do that. So then I know my crew will stay with me because I'm paying social contributions for them. So that's a growing tendency. Or we're also paying social contributions to a private scheme, and we're really trying to promote this when we take on a vessel under management. So that makes also a difference instead of having, an offshore contract where the crew member has basically no cover unless he's on board and something happened while on board. The interesting thing is that if you are covered by a Malta scheme, if you're sick at home on holidays, then you're covered. So that's a big difference.
Jenny, if I come to you. So it seems that the balance is changing. So owners and captains are becoming more accommodating in order to attract the right. But obviously now, theoretically, the negotiating power is to a degree in the hands of the crew members. So are you finding crew becoming more picky about what sort of boats they will and won't work on? And what is that based on, other than just pay?
Yeah, absolutely. The crew, and rightfully so, can be more careful of how they select their boat. I think back in the days, crew were happy to take whatever was offered to them, especially to get into the industry. Experienced crew members with some kind of longevity on their CV as a golden ticket. They can pick and choose boats they want to work on. And I've found more important for crew nowadays, after the pandemic as well, is the leave packet. They quite often ask about the leave packet before they ask about the salary. They value the amount of time off more than what they're getting paid. They're happy to take a lesser salary if they get a good leave packet. A boat that's offering the minimum, like 30 to 40 days a year, are really difficult to place crew on. Even if it's a fantastic boat, they have all the other benefits. But if a crew member gets 30 to 40 days off, it doesn't matter how much money you throw on them because it's not enough time for them to see the family, friends, etc. So leave packet is definitely one of the most asked.
Brendan, you probably have some points to pick up on, I presume, but how do you see this dynamic of crew choosing, and on what basis they choose, what owners are prepared to offer? Obviously, we have a lot of new owners. I think you mentioned about all these post-pandemic, your business went through the roof. Well, the reason for that is because during the pandemic, the rich got richer, much richer. All the money went straight to the top, straight from government hands, through the security system, straight into the hands of big business. So with new owners coming in or owners stepping up coming in, it becomes obviously more onerous to have more crew on your scheme, if you like, either fully rotation, one-on-one rotation, or something else. So how do you manage this, and how do you educate an owner that, look, the cost of yachting, you bought your yacht, congratulations, now you find good crew. How do you sell that to even a new owner or even an experienced owner?
I've just gone through this with a very experienced yacht owner that has increased the leave ratios for all crew. I don't know if it's a panacea for a boat or a good crew. I do agree that it's what everyone's asking for, and to the point, I'm trying to find, if anyone in the room is interested, a bosun with a few years' experience. There's just no one. So I really hear what you're saying. It's a tough one. It is very tough for an owner, regardless of net worth. If you draw the pie chart from your budget, crew and ancillary expenses are going to run at between 38 and 44% of your costs. That's a lot. The bit that's for you, the yacht owner, is a really tiny slither. And it's very hard for them to stomach that. Hang on, my payroll has just gone up a 7-figure digit to move to what the crew are needing on a large event. Yet, when I'm on board, I don't feel any different. So, what's my ROI on that? So it's quite tough to sit in that room and tell that. There's change the design, paint them grey, call them explorers. Explorer yachts were being spoken of. What about explorer crew? That you're happy to be in the Pacific for 8 months. We can't fly you out all the time. So I don't know if we're sending the right messages out there. We're still a maritime industry. You can't go home every 6 weeks sometimes. This is what we do. If you work in a remote ski area or refugio, you are in there for the duration. You have made that lifestyle choice. I do think some of the regulations are going to affect supply and demand. You would have read about this, I think. Brexit. Non-EU crew members are not signed on the vessel anymore inside Europe. You are burning your visa waiver days. So yes, there are the Italians have got the D visa. It's not consistent how it's getting there. So we're possibly going to find that a lot of English, formerly visa waiver, Australian, New Zealand, non-EU, the Schengens have always been very aware of what they needed to do. So they're very conscious of their data. So this restricted flow, I know myself, I'm not that keen on hiring anyone that isn't an EU citizen. It's just too hard. And if the boat is Northern Hemisphere, I don't need a second engineer from New Zealand. There's a lot of them in Europe. But that's an owner saying, look, I've paid money for these extra crew. Why am I flying there's no deckhand in 400 million Europeans? I'm flying one up from Sydney, Australia. I don't see the point. So I think that is another one we've got to turn around, and the most important in any yachting room has to be the yacht owner and deliver them value for all of this. I do agree the wages have been very stagnant. The terms have improved. That's amazing. I'm sailing under Maltese flag right now, and that is an incredible benefit. I know we have some insurance representatives in this room. Crew, before CRS reporting and a lot of other changes, just lived outside the system. Now you are in the system. So if you don't have your national security equivalent in your home country and you're not paying tax there, you're no longer valid. It's a recruitment question for me now, because that then becomes almost a media risk to the client that person is not a bona fide crew member. So I don't know if I've circled around some of the points. I agree with everything that's being said here. I think when we're saying crew matters, we have problems with either they come out 2 seasons. That's a great crew member. If that's what they want to do, that's fabulous. It's stated up front. I'm here. I'm going to work hard. Just here for a couple of seasons, and I'm going to go back. I've done my liberal arts degree. I'm going to go back, make some money, do a postgraduate. super stuff. Don't worry about it. Not everyone needs a career pathway as well. Back to that triangle. And just enjoy the fact that you've got a couple of great people for a couple of years. The seashore, I'll repeat that one. I think that remains really important. I'll look at this room. This is leadership in yachting. Take that crew member that you know is great, but you just can't find a placement, and say, look, you're paying tax, you're paying national insurance somewhere anyway. Come ashore for a year. Talk to Carlos and work for an AYSS person and learn the industry that way. Then we'll find you a great job in a year. That's important. Delivering value to the owners, I agree. You can't place someone without rotation. I'm not sure if it's delivering the best value to the clients, or it's attracting people that want to be mariners. We should be mariners. That we don't want,
Yeah, but they've all watched below deck, you see, so they have a different idea of yachting. So have an image problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've been out of sail now for too long. But maybe sail still attracts people that have a love of being. I want to be a sailor, as opposed to. I'm not sure which firm did it. And there was a photo of, and it was gender specific. So it was 4 female crew members, ubiquitous shot, facing forward across the bow, their backs. They've got their hands up, toasting champagne. It was a recruitment photo. That's not the photo that we should be sending to people. Crew are the biggest value besides that dollar budget. That also, I'd like to have the cover shot of the glossy magazine that isn't this year's launch, but it's the second engineer having just repaired something, giving a thumbs up as the cover shot. Gap in the tooth, bit of, not the model shot. That's the reality. That's what we're doing out there. It's repetitive, it can be boring, and that's what we need to be selling. It's just hard work. If you're running a hotel, you just get up each day and you clean your hotel and you lay the breakfast out and you do it again. It's not this theatre, and I think we have to be honest with ourselves.
Well, I heard a tale just recently of a South African stew, did all the training, did the courses, got qualified, got a job on board, was then told, right, you're cleaning this bathroom. She quit the very next day. What the hell's going on? He spent all this time. It's because I can't tell my dad, I have to clean someone else. Yeah, that's obviously South African specific story. But you think, well, how did you get to the point of into crewing, not knowing actually what the job is day to day?
And Korea, I'm just going to go back in a moment. You mentioned coming from commercial. A lot of people come into yachting, but their community isn't maritime. Commercial, you tend to, you're in a community that delivers mariners. That's part of your export program. So a lot of people come in and they don't know that cleaning the toilet is core business. And that's tough. Yachts are not families. We're a performance team. If you stop delivering as a team, let's use a sporting analogy, you get cut from the team. That is a reality. And this has to be a high performance environment. It can't be that we on board as crew, I'm putting myself down now as just taking it for granted and wanting the best terms. I have to deliver, I have to educate myself, I have to improve myself to retain a position that 250 people, I learned on a post the other day, want. If I'm not doing that, get out of the way because someone else is. And that needs to go all the way down. And so I'm sort of putting it back on crew to say we need to deliver as well.
Sophie, I'm going to come to you. So this story in particular about telling crew what's involved in the job, presumably this falls in your area, doesn't it?
I mean, we do. When we get the new crew industry coming in the spring, we get them all together every couple of weeks. We talk about CVs and we talk about walking the dogs and we talk about how you need to present yourself, and we do try and give them the reality of it. But you would assume that if they've already got as far as taking their SW and travelling to Palma or Antibes, that they should have an idea what they're getting into. It's and
well, talking about experience, I'm all over social media day in, day out. More than is good for me, and I see endless new Instagram accounts, beautiful table settings, Yeah, the toasting champagne to the sunset. So how do we break it to them? Also, that might mean that by making it more real, we get more real crew members.
Yeah,
doing it.
hopefully. I mean, and that's when the new deck crew come in and they say, I'm really good at water sports. And this is, have you done any polishing and varnishing? How does it work? And they say, I want to start the industry next year. Go into my CCW. What can I do before? I go, learn some painting skills, varnishing, polishing. Go and help out anywhere. It doesn't have to be on a boat. That's what we need. And that's what the job's about when you're starting out. And with the stewardesses, we have you done hospitality? Okay, not just service. Have you done beds and heads? Have you done any chambermaiting? Have you done any cleaning? Can you iron? You know, it does need to be made clear to them. But by the time they've got out there, it's
So Erica, you're the honest agent. I see your TikTok quite a bit. You talk a little fast. Subtitles are good. But the
I have a lot to say.
the advice is solid, and it's about get real. Everything is about get real. It's about people coming into the industry, or they want to get into the industry with a big misconception. So if you're obviously doing your best to try and educate people even before they reach you, how else should we reach the wider world and get the right new recruits in the door?
That's a very good question. I mean, one of the things that Brendan said about expedition crew, for example, and sailing over motor, it's like sailing is more of a vocation, I think, than being on a motor yacht. Sailing is more of a passion, something that people love to do, and that's why you get career sailors, versus trying to attract people as a motor yacht crew member. But I think as a whole, the industry needs to work to try and attract the green crew members with a more realistic approach and tell everyone this is how it is. I mean, I don't use the generic photos on my job posts for social media. I've got one of my favorite engineering ones was one of my lads sent me, and he's upside down with his legs in the air. And that is the post for an engineering job, and it always gets shared and liked because it's real. One of my stewardess posts is a picture of a girl with steam coming up, and it says the closest I got to a steam room this year was when I opened the dishwasher and the steam hits my face. That was my spa day. And just keeping it real. I've got a picture of one of the girls cleaning the toilet, grinning back at the camera that her mate took. I get all my crew send me these photos, and that's one of our things trying to push it. Like, it's real. This is real. This is not a glamorous job. All right, all that nonsense when you see people toasting champagne, it's like, yeah, maybe on your day off. But that's social media is to blame for all this. I mean, look at all our Instagram posts. I mean, I'm not going to post a picture on my Instagram, banging my head on the desk because I can't find that bosun with experience because he's not out there or she's not out there. It's going to be the glamorous after a workshop out on the docks with a glass of rosé, because that's what social media is. But anyone who believes that social media is an accurate reflection of what goes on in our industry needs to give their head a bit of a, in my opinion, because it's not real, is it? None of it's real.
We need some of these ads more like the British Armed Forces ads. Join the Navy. It's got this very sharp hitting, cleaning toilets, varnishing, and scrubbing.
Yeah, but then also we don't want to scare them off too much. And the problem is that
if you don't do that, you're not giving a fair representation of what's involved.
True. It's finding the fine line in the middle, isn't it? Yeah. But, I mean, we do have a responsibility to educate the crew, and I think a lot of sea schools, I'm not pointing things at Blue Water here because you're here at the coalface, that perhaps some of the sea schools that are far, far away in a land far away from the yachts, perhaps they don't sell the big picture. Perhaps they tell them, which I get a lot, is, no, you just need to do these courses. Then you go to one in Palma, they'll be dying to hire you. In fact, don't even do that. Just apply from home. Yeah, you'll get a job, no problem. But just give us all your money for these courses first. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they'll go on social media and they'll follow some influencers in yachting who are posting the champagne sunsets and go, or watch Below Deck. And then think, yeah, this is real. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get paid loads of money to travel the world, and I'll be like a guest on a yacht. But what do we do?
Green. Topic. Obviously, there's a massive pool of talent out there that we're not tapping into because yachts. Let's say we're not in the industry. Yacht owners will have what they have, so the standard employment laws and criteria, and I'm going in the direction of diversity and discrimination. Um, we don't see too many plus-size Jews. We don't see too many ethnic engineers. We don't see too many, not from, let's say, South Africa, let's say, or from other parts of the world. Obviously, Filipino crew was in high demand because they're regarded to be cheap, which is a disgrace. So how do we, how do we reach a bigger talent pool? Because clearly they're out there, very often highly motivated to work in a good, well-paying industry where they get skills. And how do we reach more of them, or is the barrier actually the owner who basically decides, I want tall blonde Swedes, and I want blue eyes, and I want, I'm not picking. I'm not picking on the panelists. You get my point. I think there's basically virtually zero diversity on most yachts.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, and it's a catch-22 situation here, between the owner's expectation and what because we cannot force him to have a certain person on board. It comes to his or her decision. I want to have this person with me on my vessel. I'm going to see every day, on the 35 meters, who's going to bump into that person at least, 20 times per hour. So it is true, it's a very wide industry. The average age is, I don't know, maybe 30, 35 years old. Doesn't go, except for the deck and engine officers, then yes. But interior staff, they tend to be young, white, female ladies, yes.
All hands to deckies.
Oh, deckies, yes, exactly. It is difficult because if we start to say, well, how about hiring people from a certain nationality or a certain area of the world, and if one employer who would take them on, then what happens to these people? We make them believe they can have a career. Well, it's not going to happen. So it's very delicate to bring that matter. And it's true, we cannot say it officially, but we have physical requirements, whether lady or male. We have boats now where it's on board, for example, or a certain type of ladies. And it's very difficult to approach this because at the end of the day, it's the owner's decision, and it's very tricky.
What degree we talked about Malta flag and social security contributions? Does it have any impact on employment law on board if you're flagged in a certain state?
Everything is on MLC anyway. So no matter what flag you're using, everything has to be MLC compliant. At least the Fraser managed vessels are. If the boat is totally independent with no management company, then I'm not sure what's happening on board. But if you're having a yachting agency managing your vessel, you know that you will be within the MLC guideline, and therefore there should not be any harassment of any sort on board. The management company will make sure it happens, and through the captain that everybody's treated fair.
Discrimination at the employment stage.
That's where it gets tricky because we have requirements sometimes. Not all the yacht owners are like this, but we do have sometimes requirements with physical aptitudes, and they want to see full length pictures and meet the person in person before making a decision to employ that person. So it's, again, we have to be very diplomatic with the owner. And we also want to make sure that it doesn't lead to any sort of harassment on board. Why would he want a certain type of person on board? What is the logic behind? We have to address that matter. And of course, keep a clear eye on what's happening on board through the captain. Talk to the captain or the crew member. We always have a hotline. We have a poster that we post on all crew mats, with a hotline, with a DPA, where we are available 24/7. And if a crew member has an issue, they can call us. And if the issue is the captain, they can call us in confidentiality and we'll address the matter. And it happened, unfortunately, several times that we had to talk to the captain to say, you have to stop this and work properly and do not discriminate for any reason. and sometimes we had to remove the captain. It's very rare, but it happens. So
Just, we're getting close towards the end. I want to just get Brendan's perspective on recruitment discrimination, employment law, dynamic.
There is no spot on. There's no employment law here. It's private employment, and it's at the wishes of that employer or employing family. Any workplace, the more diversity, the better you're going to perform. That's just it. That's my opinion. That's a statistical fact. Yachting doesn't leave itself open to that. What is also quite tough is to have a crew, be it 7 to 70, and one person from a unique cultural identity. That's quite tough. Be that dietary, social, language. So the larger yachts, I think you have more opportunity to create we've got quite a few members. What I also find is amazing is a lot of yachts that are based south of France or Palma, and they don't have a native speaker on board. I find that's kind of amusing. You don't have a Mayokian or a Tivoire on board. Why not? They're good. They're helpful. I was in the Pacific quite a lot and ended up with quite a few local crew because they are fabulous. If you don't know the families in Fiji, you don't get access to the island. So you recruit Fijians. But would those same wonderful crew feel really comfortable in France? I don't know. So I think diversity will always be a challenge in private employment, be that yachts or ashore, because it's up to the employer. I don't know that stereotypical. I'd like to think it's the narrow end of the bell curve. I want the boys to look like Ken dolls and the girls to stand next to them in Barbie. I don't think that is representative, although I wouldn't have got a job. Isn't that representative of the wider community? I think it's like the narrow end. And Sophie, I do applaud. I actually am hearing it from crew that they're getting some good STCW. You just have to do what you're told on the syllabus. You don't have to tell them a thing about yachting. But I know that the training academies are going the extra yard and communicating, even down to what luggage to bring, which sounds banal, but it helps. So no, I thank you for that. That really helps from all the training platforms.
Thank you. Unless you have more to say right this minute, to this point, I'm going to. Any questions from people in the audience? We've covered a lot of ground. There's probably much more to cover, but now's your chance. If anybody has a question, we don't have a spare microphone in the room, I'm afraid. So if you just speak up, we'll hear you.
I've been in the fitness industry for 35 years now. Corporates obviously take their health and fitness very seriously. It's a way of bringing the best into their business, wherever it is. I just wondered how your industry's changed in terms of bringing health and fitness equipment, wellness equipment, as well as just general fitness into the industry. How has that changed? How do you see the future?
You first.
Bloody big cupboard full of protein powder. How it's changed. For recruiting, it's got to be up to there in the first 3 questions. Is there a crew gym on board? We get quite a few now. That large yachts will have a fitness trainer on board. They are doing crew deliverables. So yeah, it's core business. I think there is outside of yachting, there's a social. People care of themselves better. So, no, Tim, I think it's become core business. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say one of the 99% of the yachts that I deal with, my clients, they'll ask, when they're asking me for crew, I will ask them, what are your crew like? What do they do in their off time so I can find the right fit for a crew member? And 9 times out of 10, more than that, it's like we're a fit and active bunch. When we're off the boat, we like to go hiking, do activities, sports, or the boss likes us to get involved and use all the toys. And yeah, if anyone's got a diving certificate, that would be great because boss likes diving with them. That sort of thing. A lot more yachts on crew who are fit and healthy and active. And it is part of the lifestyle because if you are not very fit and not very active, you're going to struggle to keep up because it's a very physical job. And you mentioned the mental health thing, but oh my God, that's a whole other day. You know, that's a huge, huge, huge topic. And I have a lot to say about that as well, so I'm sure you can imagine. But
We're going
yeah,
to save it for next year.
it's, yeah, we'll
Next
say
year's
that for the
topic.
next
I- Yeah, thank you for that. That's
MLC being the basic, and if the flag has better bow, then the flag applies. The highest the cover will be followed. Yes.
right. Anybody else? Any further questions? Yep.
I'm Marlies. I'm a captain and chief officer on mostly sailboats and some motorboats. I was wondering if you guys think there's enough being done for training for heads of departments and captains to be part of this way where we need to retain curriculum and a crew retention and do a proper review of crew and how what is do you want out of your job? How can we stay on top of that and how can we get developed? I come from a corporate background originally 20 years ago, and I was absolutely gobsmacked by how that doesn't happen. We're 20 years on now, and it's still they try, but in my 20 years, I haven't had a review.
It's for Sophie. Training question.
Training. The issue is whenever crew tend to not take up courses that are not mandatory. We have tried. We've been pushing the mental health first aid for 18 months now. We've managed to have 3 courses with 4 or 5 people on each time. I'm trying and pushing. This is so valuable. It's so important. But at the end of the day, it feels like the crew are not wanting the courses that they don't have to do. Luckily, the helm came in, so there's an element of it, and and it was a great. There were captains who'd been managing crews for 20, 30 years. And why do I need to do this? I've been doing it for years, and they came and they learned so much, and we've got great feedback. But only once it became a mandatory course. So I don't know the answer. We're trying. And if anyone really is interested in mental health first aid courses, please come and talk to me. It's my pet project. We're trying. We've seized the mind. But we're not getting the take-up. So all advice gratefully received. But yeah, I agree. There should be more management skills, leadership, coaching. There are great people out there. But unless we get the MCA to compulsory, which we're working on with the mental health first aid, then we won't get the take-up.
Is there a way that we can work that from an owner or a management?
Melissa, look, we've discussed this. It's super important. I find every other day that I don't have all the tools in the toolbox to do the job I've been doing for a long time. So yeah, it's fitting it in. It's really hard. The yachts are quite demanding on the schedules. I'm not plugging any business. Steve Monk, who a lot in the room would know, DeGamma Training, Fire, Flood and Famine. I've been trying to get Steve on and failing over and over. And this is just flood and fire. This is the stuff that keeps you alive. We did have a 2-day management workshop attended by all crew recently on the boat that I'm with, and it was fabulous. But then we haven't had the time to follow it up. So it almost can be against your goals because everyone goes, okay, great, that was put on paper and in words on a page. are we following it up in the real? That is why you've got crew turnover, because we as leaders aren't giving enough to them. And so I really agree with that. Obviously, with mental health first aid, it is compulsory in the UK to have a mental health first aid trained person along with the cut finger first aid trade. We need to bring that in. Very quick last one. It's a really good seminal point from an MCA representative, 2019 minutes, who said, I'm sorry, you're all talking about regulations as though they're a goal. They're the minimum. You guys should be flying up here. And when MLC, I took some time out last year to revalidate my pilot's license. I was parking bulk ships, salt ships. They are the dump trucks of the ocean. They are all MLC compliant, absolutely. And they are all ISM compliant. It's down here. This is not a salt ship. We should be up here. The crew need to pay to go to blue water on their leave and do whatever training they need to do. And we don't value mentorship.
Well, then shouldn't the yachts be encouraging them and saying, we'll give you paid time off if you do this, we'll pay for that course?
At some point, you've got to have some agency. You've got to own it. One of my masters cost me 50 grand. It's the best investment I made. Really good. You've got to, if you don't pay for it, you don't value crew uniform. You don't value that T-shirt. Training, you have to have some sense of agency. You're paying tax, it's a deduction off your tax. Do it properly.
I agree, but what about how do we compete as the yachting industry with like the commercial sector where they're sponsored through their OOW? Yeah. And this is the thing, it's like, well, and we've had some great deck crew who've left to go into the commercial routes. It's like, well, because I've got the sponsorship through it that way. Whereas yacht owners are like, well, I just have one. And to to be fair, that's they've only got one yacht. Whereas the commercial is, it's a whole industry where people are sponsored through. And it's like, as I say, going back to what I opened with, Ashore Industries, I did a management training scheme when I was a kid, and I got to work in all different aspects of a business before taking a managerial role. So there's nothing like that in yachting, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to implement that because it's all private owners or company-owned vessels, or even with the small fleets. No, that's it. There's a lot to address, and I agree with what you're saying, Bren. You've got to own your own qualifications. You don't. I was sponsored through university. I was lucky, but most people have to pay for that to do your degree and then not use it, probably.
Ancient Greek and Latin, perhaps, Sophie?
They're all really, I mean, you've got Fraser here, who's one of the biggest fleet managers in the industry. And you're managing like a lot of times ones out there. It's really hard to deliver this on a large, I think that's the holy grail to whoever cracks it. I know there are some private fleets doing it to an extent, but the idea, Carlos had the photo of Vava in no, it was Antarctica back then. The deckhand who joined in 2010 during the build is the captain. There's one yacht owner, unlimited, commercially qualified. He'll go on to pilotage because one yacht owner invested and has done and has done and has done. That's an individual's choice. It's very tough to do it upwards. Yeah. He did stuff.
Okay, so I think we're out of time, so we're going to wrap it up for this morning. Just a reminder, we're here tomorrow talking all things yacht management, which is, again, is a very wide-ranging topic. And we're here on Saturday morning to talk about lithium-ion battery safety. Boring as that sounds, it absolutely is. Your life depends on it. So I'd like to thank all the panelists for taking part. Sophie, Karine, Erica, Jenny, Brendan, thanks for your time. Thanks all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you here again tomorrow or some other time. Thank you much.
It's a long row of zero shining in that dashboard. A million miles and some of the highway in the night. Another day, another month away from my family. But I'd be lying if I told you there's somewhere I'd rather than living in a roadhouse automobile. There's a poor boy on the jukebox, and I know just how he feels. Living out of suitcase, living out fantasy. There won't be nothing left gets done with me. Now it's a long road that brings me here. A lot of pain, boys have been behind. The music out pulled me through. I'd have probably lost my mind. I'll be my woman stands her little daughter too. They both love me who I am, inseparable to what I do. Living in a roadhouse, an automobile. There's a poor boy home to comes, and I know just how he feels. Living out a suitcase, living out through the sea. There won't be nothing left when this road gets done with me. I'm a stranger to my children, a stranger to myself. Sometimes I'm and I know just another. If you read between the lines, between the lines, no zero shining in that dash. Another million miles in the car, another highway in the dark. Another day, another month away from my family. But I've been lying if I told you that somewhere around me, than living in a roadhouse, an automobile. There's a poor boy home, and I know just how he feels. Living out a suitcase, living out under sea. There won't be nothing left who gets done. Won't be nothing left who gets it done. Won't be nothing left who gets it done with me. This road gets done. Look at them junkies. All the one got home. He ain't washed a shade in a couple of days, and there's stains upon his clothes. Now it ain't smack that king crack brought him to me. The fully legal of the tobacco come. So thank you, RJ, for helping me look so. And thank you, Philip Moore, for be company after school. And thank you, Brown and Williams, you spent my money. When this is past and I've spoken the last, I will see you all. I will see you all. Now this junkie's not on the street corner, sleeping in an alleyway. In fact, I saw him in my own living about 3 a.m. today. His hands were shaking, his will was breaking, and his body beating. Take a good look. This is as low as a man can. As low as a man. So thank you, God, you know, for helping me look so good. And thank you, Philip Moore, to be company after school. Thank you, Brown and Williams, you spent my money. When this is past and I smoke past, I will see you all again. I will see you all again. Now I've got my own on which to place, but the company's false path really put me just the same. And let us not forget state and federal government. Before I go, I'd like to where all those tax, where all those tax. Thank you, RJ, for helping me look so cute. Thank you, Philip Morgan, for coming after school. And thank you, Brown and Williams, spent my money well. When this is past and I've told my name, I will see you all in the I will see you all in the wake up, darling, for me. Why do you sound that revenue officers are coming for to tear your still house? Wake up, darling, morning. Why do you sleep so sound? That revenue officers coming for to tear your still house down. The first time I seen darling Courtney, she was standing by the sea out of 45, strapped across her bosom, and a band on her knee. Wake up, Courtney. Why do you sleep so sound? That rebel officers coming in for to tear your house down. Go away, darling, quit your hanging. Hard legged, my body, free women gone. Wake up, darling, Corey. Why do you think so? That revenue officers are coming on for the tails of town. Dig a hole in, dig a hole in the ground. Dig a hole in the middle. Gonna lay, darling, where you go, darling, Corey. Why do you sleep so sound? That revenue officers are coming for the tails down.